Yo, what's up guys, Ghost here, and today it seems the Battlefield community need to have a difficult conversation. And as I'm sure you'll be able to tell by the title, this is going to be a pretty controversial topic, so much so that I thought long and hard about if I even wanted to touch this with a 10-foot barge pole. But I decided I have some opinions to share on the matter, and that's what this channel is for. I want to be as transparent as possible, so let's leave our emotions at the door. To fill you in with what's going on here, ever since Battlefield 6 leaked all over the internet, you could hear that a lot of the soldier screams, a lot of the callouts, etc., were from female soldiers. And in particular, I definitely heard Falcon there, and I'm certain at least that that specific voice is simply a placeholder. David Serland, the lead producer, has stated on multiple occasions that they are using Battlefield 2042 assets in the pre-alpha build for the next game, so that's not entirely unexpected. So as you may have guessed by now, a lot of folks are getting pretty riled up over this. In fact, I go so far as to say that it's the #1 complaint, actually, that I've seen about the game, which in retrospect, I suppose is kind of a good thing. So here are a couple of comments from my initial video covering the leaks. Here Brett says, I don't want to come off as a sexist POS, because I'm not, but why is there still screaming British women calling for medics? It completely ruins the immersion for me, I hate it. Crazy Sith Slave says, I just didn't like the women screaming and yelling, I find it disturbing for some reason. Hearing men die, yell and scream in pain is fine. Apparently, okay dude, but hearing the same thing happen to women sort of makes me feel sick. Okay, kind of a weird take on that there, but this guy doesn't like it either. And this isn't isolated to my channel, I've seen similar comments all over YouTube, X, and Reddit. And another thing I'm seeing is that these comments are getting a good amount of upvotes, indicating that a lot of people would agree with the notion that having women in Battlefield is undesirable. Here somebody took to Reddit to make fun of these so-called misogynists, and well, you can see that they were downvoted pretty harshly for that, and rightfully so, and most of the comments there are justifying the absence or removal of women from the game. So are women in Battlefield really ruining the immersion and leading to a less authentic experience, or is it just a bunch of boomers kicking up a fuss about nothing? Well, let's talk about it. If you guys do enjoy the content here on the channel, make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date with everything on the next Battlefield game. I promise you, most of my videos are not going to be like this one. Follow me over on X and Twitch. You can find all the links to those down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for the support. So there certainly are two sides to this argument, and I want us all to clear our minds and consider both of them. So firstly, it is absolutely true that the vast majority of soldiers, both now and in wars past, have been and are fought by men. Now that's not to say there aren't women who fight in wars, but the overwhelming majority are still men. So when people say that adding a disproportionately large number of female characters to a game like Battlefield is unrealistic or unauthentic, you can't really fault them. That is simply a fact. Unfortunately, these people seem to be under the assumption that Battlefield is a realistic experience designed to mimic the real world as closely as possible, and in case you haven't realized it yet, it's not. Battlefield has never and will never be a milsim game or anything close to a realistic shooter. And those of you who have watched this channel will know that my motto when it comes to Battlefield is I'm all for realism as long as it doesn't make the gameplay any worse. Now, if we were talking about a historical game based on real events, for example, if Delta Force made all of the operators in Black Hawk Down female, then yes, that would be inaccurate and kinda cringe. But this Battlefield game, at least as far as we know, is a make-believe war set in a make-believe world, and DICE and EA can have whatever soldiers they want in their make-believe army. I personally do not have a problem with female characters in Battlefield games, as long as I can choose, and as long as the game is designed around it. And I feel like that's where Battlefield 2042 kind of went wrong. I mean, God knows it was the least of our problems in that game, but tying a specific gender and character to a specific specialist, that really backfired, because once there was a diverse selection of genders, ethnicities, and sexual orientation, and the rest of it, people chose their specialist not based on gender, for example, but based on the gadget selection. And it just so happened that one of the best specialists in the game was an older German lady called Falk. And because she had the best heals in the game, everybody played her. So now all of a sudden, you've got 50 German grandmas running around the map, and you're forced to listen to those same voice lines over and over from not only your own soldier, but also your teammates. Now, if DICE are going for the faceless, nameless soldier approach in Battlefield 6, and I certainly hope that they are, I would love to see the option to choose a female or a male avatar. That way, if you don't wish to play as a woman for whatever reason, you don't have to, and if you do, you have the option there. Everybody's happy. What I'm more concerned with is that both factions in the new game, whether they be female or male soldiers, have separate distinctive attire, so you can instantly identify friend from foe, which of course was something that was totally lost in Battlefield 2042. As you guys all know, my channel is largely based around the Battlefield franchise, and if we take a look at my demographics, you can see that less than 2% of my viewers are female. So it probably isn't that much of a stretch to surmise that around the same percentage of Battlefield players in general are also female. So again, it doesn't really make a lot of sense forcing a bunch of men to play as female characters when that clearly isn't what they want. But the fact of the matter is, none of that really matters, because EA aren't doing this to please the women who play Battlefield or spite the men. They're doing it because they have to. This is now the norm, guys, whether you like it or not, and EA are smart enough to know that if they don't roll with the changes, they'll get run over and left in the dust by society. Maybe it's time that we do the same. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I played Battlefield 2042 for the most part as Falk, and I really could not care less if my character is a female or a male. Like, in fact, I barely noticed it, and I would guess the same is true for a lot of women who play Battlefield and have to use male characters. Like, I really doubt that they give a crap. We have recently seen a new co-op game release called Split Faction, which is like an absolutely stellar title. It could easily win Game of the Year, right? Now, I haven't played it yet, but I absolutely adored the last game that they put out called It Takes Two. But because both of the protagonists of this game are female, I've actually seen people online saying ridiculous things like this. Two dudes playing Split Faction is the very definition of ultra lame and gay. Real men play Gears of War in co-op. Like, dude, how insecure and sad do you have to be to think playing as a woman in a video game makes you any less of a man? Like, honestly, if you think that, you've got big problems. So in conclusion, the solution is an incredibly simple one. Just have both genders and let us select the one we want. If it turns out that men do indeed want to play as men, then, well, you'll only see about 2% female soldiers on the battlefield. And if you see much more than that, well, it just might be that some guys enjoy role-playing as women. But there you go. Honestly, whether there are female soldiers in Battlefield, that is like the least of my concerns when it comes to EA getting this game right. There are so many other gameplay-related things that they could completely cock up that I didn't even register that there were female voices in the leaks, to be honest with you, until I started to see people commenting about it. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, guys. As always, leave me your thoughts below. Remember, be respectful, and I'll see you in the next video.